Apac has had quite an upturn. Every team has made major upgrades to the point where they all look competitive with one another. Even the joke of an organization Valiant has made really promising changes. I expect this to be wildly wrong by the end of the season. I really feel like any Apac team could beat each other in the right circumstances. But with that out of the way, there's a few things to note. The off-season isn't over yet, and many teams are still looking for players. From this list alone, Chengdu Hunters, Los Angeles Valiant and Philadelphia Fusion are looking for players. However, I will still try to give them a fair evaluation. With that out of the way, let's get started. Number 7 is the Gangster Charge. I cannot believe I'm putting them this low. Eileen and Krong are cracked, still world-class players. Their backline is very strong as well. Molly has been benched for the past year also, but looked very good in 2020, and development shows are great players with a lot of potential. However, a few things bother me about this roster that makes me put them a bit below the rest. The first thing is that I doubt Rio will fare very well as a single tank. He isn't a bad player, he's just very middling on most heroes, and in a game where tanks individually will likely have to step up and perform, I don't think this is the guy you want. The second is that Unique is a bit underwhelming considering the options available. Finally, the coaching and the org hasn't proven that they changed all that much from last year. While they upgraded their support line and dropped the DPS deadweight, the coaching, which wasn't too good last year, is the same. Overall though, I see these guys being very competitive, but I can't see them consistently beating anyone else on this list. Number 6 is the Philadelphia Fusion. I know I'm being low on these guys right now, but really, they are just incomplete. The roster is still very strong. Carp and MN3 is an absurdly good duo on the Tracer Hitscan or Double Hitscan. Even if Zest is a bit underwhelming, Fury is a great player who should pound again. Imgod is great too, and the coaching staff from T1 is pretty goated. They just need another support before I can accurately rate them, though, if they pick up Hyunji or Jex for example, these guys could jump up to 4th or even 3rd easily. Number 5 is the Los Angeles Valiant. I want to put these guys higher, I really do. Nahil is an absolutely goated coach with an incredible track record. Innovation and Woil are cracked, and Coldest, Becky and hopefully Linksa have a lot of potential. But the top 4 right now are so star-studded that I can't really put Valiant over them. However, these guys could end up being terrifying. And Innovation were the best DPS line in contenders for a while. They absolutely dominated players like, for example, Assassin and Merit, Stalker and Aldoanzen, Ace and IM37 and Valentine. Like, not even close. Coldest and Linksa have a lot of potential. Linksa is pretty cracked and very flexible from contenders, and Coldest had a ton of hype coming into the league but was misused by Spark, and Woil has been pounding in contenders ever since he was dropped from London. These guys are great individually, but ultimately very small, and the individual pieces aren't as good as some of the other ones. Here, I'll put a tier break. These are the guys that are decidedly not the greatest in Apac this year, though all can punch up. Next, number 4 is the Hangzhou Spark. Hangzhou is a very hard to predict team. They have, on paper, an easy top 8 roster. Alfie and Shy is an absolutely absurd DPS line, like I can't stress how good Alfie is. Both Xu and Lige are cracked, probably the best at their roles in China still and will thrive in a single tank meta. Ione and Saperic are also very cracked out. However, the elephant in the room is Changgun and the coaching staff. I don't hate Changgun as much as others. Despite how much hate he gets, he has 2 grand finals appearances under his belt and tied Shock and Shanghai for the best regular season record last year. But ultimately he has a history of being carried by player mechanics, hence why London comparatively sucked in Season 2. And in a team that is pretty much split down the middle of Korean and Chinese talent with a history of mismanaging them, I don't think I can trust him too much. I just hope Lige gets to play man. The kid is so good, and if Benar benches him again, Valiant will roll them. Number 3 is the Chengdu Hunters. Another incomplete roster, but still looking cracked as all hell. Some breaking news in this video is that Jimmy and Taro Cookie have been dropped likely in favor or Aprita, which has been very anticipated. I cannot stress to you guys enough how absurdly good Aprita and Leave will be. Leave pretty much carried his team to a top 5 season standing placement, and Aprita pretty much carried his team to back-to-back wins in Chinese contenders. They are easily a top 5 DPS duo, though the 2 teams above them have slightly better ones. Ganine is a great main tank, though a bit inflexible, and no off-tank is worrying, hoping they grab Kodomo. Then the supports are obviously real good. Monk and Fue are great, and Aveltal, assuming he gets his shit together, is one of the best main supports in the world. There are a few questionable things, though. While Jinmi was great last season, the guy is a bit inflexible, looking mediocre at best off his comfort picks, hence why Chengdu struggled so much in the first half of the year. But the biggest thing is the loss of Ruya. Ruya is an incredible coach. He pretty much built up China's success in the scene with miraculous youngsters, the World Cup team and Chengdu, and his loss will definitely be felt. The one time he took a break in 2020, Chengdu was pretty abysmal. Jfeel is great, but I feel his loss will be missed. But still, these guys look absurdly good, but I am unsure how well they can measure up against the top two. This is another tier break. Both Chengdu and Hangzhou have the rosters to be top tier, but they have massive questions about them that make it hard for me to move them higher. Number 2 is the Seoul Dynasty. These guys look cracked as hell. Prophet, Fitz and Stalker is an incredible DPS trio. Prophet and Fitz were a top 5 duo last year, and Stalker is heavily anticipated with hard carry performances with General G before. They can play literally anything between the three and look great. Smurf is an amazing main tank, arguably the best player in the role of all time, being top tier at everything except possibly Rain, though his Rain isn't that bad. Vindame, Creative and Chonek is a cracked trio, great for a double flex meta, though Vindame hasn't played much aside from Brig recently. He's good though. There are only 2 issues with this roster. The first being that there is no off-tank. Smurf is amazing, but he can only play half the roster and is less flexible than, say, Super. They should be adding one later, but until then, they lack flexibility. The second is that Toby is very unproven as a coach. He has never coached before, so making him the head coach is quite questionable. I have hope it'll work out though. Arnold has some good reasoning behind it. Overall a cracked roster with some main support and tank flexibility issues and coaching questions. Then first is obvious, the Dragons. These guys are still looking like the best team in the world. You all know this. Every single one of their players are arguably the best individually in their role, at worst top 2. Moon is still goated. There are a few drawbacks though, I'd say. The loss of Jfeel and Dongsu could hurt. Shanghai was one of the best coached teams in the league, they were deadly on the execution, and so losing 2 of the best coaches in the league could hurt them, though Moon is great. The other thing is flexibility issues. It seems like they're only going with Izayaki and Liu Jigon as their support line, and while I have faith in Liu Jigon to pick up the flex, they won't be the best in said meta most likely compared to, say, Glads, Shock or even Seoul and Chengdu. Plus I am worried in the case of a double projectile meta. Flitter is meta and can cover any hero, but if there is a double projectile meta, Horu is not up to par for a team that has a history of not using their backups effectively. That's rare though. Overall it's hard to see these guys falling from first unless double flex support becomes a must-run. They are way too cracked at every role. So to recap, my current list is the Gangster Charge, Philadelphia Fusion, Los Angeles Valiant, Hangzhou Spark, Chengdu Hunters, Seoul Dynasty and Shanghai Dragons. Thanks for watching, and remember to like and subscribe for more. I upload almost daily Overwatch League content and am trying to hit 100 subs by Season 5, so any subscription helps greatly. Thanks.